If your code ran smoothly last week and now everything seems to be broken, it might be the right time for this video. Maybe you didn't touch anything, maybe you've just updated some packages, or maybe your colleague pip installed something he needed on your common machine. Hello and welcome back to my channel where we discuss everything about applied data science. For the past days, I've been living in isolation as my daughter brought chickenpox from kindergarten and kindly passed it to me, so now I'm going through it for the second time. This got me thinking about a topic which, from my experience, beginner data scientists don't use enough or don't leverage enough, which is isolation. And no, I'm not talking about isolating yourself, I'm talking about isolating your code through virtual environments. Coming from a non-computer science background, I understand now how much energy and effort I could have spared by using virtual environments, because I was literally wasting hours trying to solve version conflicts while also breaking some previous projects that I was working on. I could have avoided building up so much anxiety and stress. So in this video, I just want to share with you how easy it is to set up a virtual environment, to use it, and then to also make it accessible from a Jupyter Notebook. Because at the end of the day, as data scientists, we are using Jupyter Notebooks a lot. But first, if you haven't heard of this concept of virtual environments before, what you've probably been doing is installing all your packages globally, such that each time when you opened Python, you could access the packages you installed directly from there. This becomes problematic under two circumstances. First, when you are working on multiple projects, as you are updating packages for your new projects, if the old projects are using previous versions of the same packages, their functionality might be affected. Secondly, when you are sharing your projects with other people, because chances are these other people are not going to have exactly the same Python version or the same package version as you on your computer. So a virtual environment can be thought of as a box, as a custom ecosystem where the code and the packages live in harmony. So when the code moves, also the environment it lives in moves with the code. When you are installing Python packages in the environment, the Python installation is not affected in any way by what you are doing within the environment. Virtual environments are very lightweight, so they don't need a lot of memory. You can have in one virtual environment a Python version and then in another virtual environment another Python version, or you can have multiple versions of the same package in different virtual environments. Here are the steps to create and use a virtual environment in Python, and also how to access it from Jupyter Notebook. Welcome to Visual Studio Code. I would like to cover three scenarios. One, when I am creating a virtual environment on my Windows machine, then I'll create a virtual environment on a Linux machine, and then the third scenario is when I want to create the environment using CONDA. So let's get started with the first two situations. For this purpose, I've just splitted my terminal space in two. I have here on the left hand side an Ubuntu terminal, and on the right hand side I have a Windows command prompt. I will start here on the right hand side, and the first thing I'll do is change my home directory. I'll do the same on the Linux machine. To create a virtual environment, I'll need to use the VENV module, and I'll do it by typing Python 3 because I'm using Python 3 here. M stands from module, VENV is the module that I'm using, and now I'll just have to pass in the name of the environment that I'm creating. Wind environment from Windows environment. And I see here that a folder showed up in my home directory, which is called Wind environment. If I open this folder, it contains some other folders. So basically, this is going to be my virtual environment. The virtual environment finished creating. I'll create a second virtual environment from the Linux machine as well by typing exactly the same command. But now I'm just going to name my virtual environment differently. And I'll see that another folder showed up in my home directory. This time I'm creating a virtual environment from Ubuntu. If I open this virtual environment, I can see that the folder names are different, and this is going to make a difference on how I'm performing the next step, which is activating the virtual environment to actually use it. For Windows, I have my activation script under the folder scripts, and then here there is this activate script, which is going to activate my virtual environment. The only thing that I'll have to do in Windows is pass in the path to this script. My Python virtual environment is activated, and the proof is exactly this tag here. So now in front of my home directory path, I have this name of the environment that I'm working in. In order to activate my virtual environment that I've created on the Ubuntu machine, I'll need to pass in the path to the activation file, and the activation file is in bin activate, and I'll have to pass it using source and then the path to my virtual environment. And the proof that my virtual environment is activated is exactly the same. I have the name of the environment in parentheses right before everything else. I am going to continue working on the Windows machine, and I'll try to open a Python here, and in Python I'm going to try to import a package. Import NumPy. Import. And the message I get is that the module NumPy is not found. Indeed, if I go under the lib, I see that I have no module NumPy here. So I'll exit Python for now, and I'm going to pip install NumPy using pip install NumPy. I'm going to enter Python again, and this time when I'm trying to import NumPy, I'm expecting it's going to be a successful import. Okay. We've seen now how to install packages within the virtual environment. Now, if we don't want to use the virtual environment anymore, we just need to use the command deactivate. And we see that the name of the environment in brackets disappeared. We are not within the environment anymore. I'm going to use exactly the same command to deactivate the environment on Ubuntu, and the result is the same. If we want to delete an environment, we need to make sure that we really want to delete it, and the folder which contains the virtual environment can be removed exactly as any other folder. The next thing I would like to show you is, once I've created a virtual environment, how do I go about using that within my Jupyter Notebook. And for this purpose, I've created this Jupyter Notebook called test, which is empty at the moment. And I want to be able to select as a kernel one of the environments that I've created. I'm going to continue doing this on the Windows machine because things happen exactly the same on both Windows and Linux. In order to make an environment visible from Jupyter Notebook, I'll need to install a library which is called ipykernel. So the first thing I'll do is activate my environment that I want to make visible in the Jupyter Notebook, and within that environment install the library that I need. We can double check that the ipykernel package has been installed here in my lib folder. Okay, ipykernel, it's here, it has been installed. Up here I can see that my test Jupyter Notebook is using the Python 3.12.2 kernel. So if I want currently to change this kernel with another one, I won't have any Jupyter kernels available. And if I want to choose from Python environments, I see that I only have some base Python environment, some Anaconda virtual environment, and different versions of Python. So the goal is to make my environment that I created on my Windows machine visible in this list so that I can select it. The next thing I'll have to do is install my Jupyter kernel with the module ipykernel that I've previously installed. And I can do it by just typing Python -m using the module ipykernel. So I'll have to install the environment which has the name VENV, and I would like to display this environment under the name my first environment, or my first virtual environment, let's say. And my Jupyter kernel was installed. If I close and reopen my Jupyter Notebook, I would expect to have a kernel under the name my first VENV available as a kernel for selection. So I just press this kernel button here, select another kernel, Jupyter kernels, and indeed I see that my first virtual environment is available for selection here. So now I would like to see if I'm able to import the NumPy package that I've previously installed, and I'll do it by import NumPy. And indeed, the package has imported. This is how I create a virtual environment on a Windows or a Linux machine, and then make the environment visible in my Jupyter Notebook. Now I'm going to create a virtual environment using CONDA. For this purpose, I opened a new terminal here, and I'll create an environment by just using CONDA create command and passing in the name
that I want my environment to have, which here is CONDA second environment. When asked if I want to proceed, I say yes, and then here I have some tips on how to activate my CONDA environment and how to deactivate the CONDA environment. I'm going to activate the CONDA environment now. Now I'm within the CONDA environment, and the proof is exactly the same, that before the prompt here I have in brackets the name of the environment that I am in. I want to emphasize the fact that even if I'm here in my working directory, when I created this CONDA environment, there has been absolutely no folder generated containing this environment. That is because the CONDA virtual environments are stored elsewhere. I can check the path to my CONDA virtual environments by using the command CONDA info and envs. And now I have the list of all the CONDA virtual environments that are available on my computer, and then the active CONDA virtual environment is marked with an asterisk here. Now I can deactivate the CONDA virtual environment by just typing CONDA deactivate, and the proof that the environment is deactivated is that this marker, the name of the environment in brackets, is missing. So this was everything about virtual environments. Have fun with them.
Once I started using virtual environments in my daily workflow, so much of the stress and anxiety of managing version conflicts just vanished. The team that I'm currently working in is confidently sharing code with other team members because we all use virtual environments, and we know that running that code only takes a few seconds, as much as just activating the virtual environment. I hope now you also have the knowledge to embrace the concept of virtual environments and use it into your daily workflow. It's going to make life so much easier. If you found this information useful and you would like to learn more about data science topics, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to get notified when I'll be posting my next video. See you next time!